Salam and hello. Welcome to Uproot. My name is Lily Bakala Piper, and I am once again so very grateful that you are tuning in to Uproot today. If you've been listening the last few weeks, you'll know that we have been talking about why Black Lives Matter. The last two episodes have focused on why Black joy and why Black journalism matters. And if you haven't listened yet, please do go back and listen to those conversations. I think you'll really enjoy them. And today we are talking about why Black sisterhood matters with Annie and Shaz Indiritu. Annie and Shaz are well-known personalities here in Nairobi. Annie is a psychotherapist, a mother, a homeschool teacher, and she has a presence in Nairobi that continues to lift up families and those of us who are really concerned and interested in mental health. Now, Shaz, on the other hand, is a Nairobi personality that has brought so many of us so much joy, not just during this pandemic, for the last several years, through her work in comedy, as an interior designer, as a writer, and even as a math teacher. While those are the professional roles that these amazing women hold, what you may not know about them is that they are also survivors of the Westgate attack of 2013. In today's conversation, Annie and Shaz talk to us about how they survived that moment, how they changed, and what their family life looked like after coming out of such a traumatic experience. And they also provide some really wise and sage advice about how we continue to celebrate and lift up our sisters, even in the midst of a global pandemic. And because of that pandemic, we recorded this episode outside, trying to observe the best practices that we could by staying 6 feet away and being outside. And as a result, you will hear a rooster crowing and motorcycles going by. It's a bit of a noisy episode, but in between the noise is lots of laughter, wisdom, and I think a real celebration of why Black sisterhood matters. So I hope you'll enjoy today's episode with Annie and Shaz Indiritu.
Welcome to Uproot.
Santi.
Let me just start by asking, how are you? How is your family? How are you coping in the midst of all these new normals in our life?
You know, Lily, for me, it's been a surprisingly good year. On a private scale, it's been a surprisingly good year because I think we've had a chance to do some stuff with the kids and with the wider family that we don't normally do. I was, say last year I was homeschooling part-time and working part-time and studying, and I think coming up to December I was kind of feeling a bit burnt out. And so this year I have so much time, and it's come in a strange way, but it's opened up the door for us to do things that we normally wouldn't have the time to do. So one of the things that we've done, like in our family, on Wednesdays we have lunch with our dad.
Oh, that's lovely.
In his office, because we have the time to do it now. So everybody gathers and we all have lunch there.
Who pays?
It's my daddy's girl. It's my daddy's girl. So we telephone in our requests. I'm like, I want roast beef, and she likes mutton, and so we do that. And so we've been doing that almost the whole lockdown period, which is amazing.
I hope you can keep it going after.
Yes, that's what we've been saying too. And when you have so much time with your parents, it's surprising the stories that have come up. He's remembered so many things and stories that we kind of had always heard growing up, but now we can really delve into the little meaty details of it. And I think he enjoys being the center of our attention also. He's soaking it up. So I think in some ways this has been a good year.
You've made some lemonade.
Really good.
How about you, Shaz? How are you coping in the middle of all this?
I think also surprisingly well, but I feel like I've had the last couple of months sort of leading up to lockdown, I was in my own personal private little lockdown that came again in ways that maybe I couldn't have engineered or wanted necessarily, and just cutting down outside of, let's say, doing the stand-up comedy, otherwise just being very private and keeping in my own little bubble. So I wouldn't say that this has been particularly hard, because it hasn't been, because I was in that space anyway.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Where do you get your energy?
So I was told ambivert.
Okay.
which is a
I've
new
not heard
thing.
that term before.
Exactly. So I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
You know,
You're a panvert. You're
Everything is
type
good, right?
all things all the time. But I definitely like I enjoy the stage and all of that stuff. But the surprising thing, and I always feel like secretly the disappointing thing for a lot of people,
Yeah.
is that after when the mic is down, I want to be in the back of the room. I want to be in my house. I like that quiet. I like
Yeah.
that sort of peace,
Yeah.
and I'm really just that person. And you know, I always feel I notice it when I see people go, "Oh, you're not." You know, swinging off the chandelier. You're not that person.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. At home, I'm just like this,
Yeah.
and I really like it.
I like it. Well, you know, my husband is an introvert, and I saw a meme that I shared with him that was like, introverts have been training for this moment their whole lives, waiting for the world to lock down and slow down. So whatever, however we get our energy, if we can find a way to just
Check
this
up on your
time, you know,
extrovert friends. They're not doing
I
well.
tell
They're
you,
struggling.
and that's
right
one of
now.
me. I'm so but I'm telling you, my husband is the only one keeping me accountable. Otherwise, I would be like the super spreader of Nairobi, like going out. Hey guys, hey, you wanna hang out? Here. So exactly, hugging, kissing, all of that. But I'm learning to do better. So you know, I wanted to have you here because I've been thinking about the Black experience, and I've been troubled that in light of the Black Lives Matter movement, people are beginning to equate Black lives with trauma, with, you know, devastation, with struggle, exactly. And to me, as a Black person, I know joy. Of course, we know pain and suffering, but we know joy, we know sisterhood, we know family, we know, our experiences are, of course, as rich and as wide as any other person on the face of the earth. And as I was thinking about the next part of the series, I was like, okay, it'd be beautiful to talk about Black sisterhood because it is something that feels universal. You know, we were talking before we started recording about being in airports and in different places outside of our community, and you see another Black woman and you make eye contact, and there's this acknowledgement, right, of like, I see you and you know what's going on.
I
And
like
you
your
know,
hair.
yes.
How did you do that?
And
You know,
it usually is a Black woman who will compliment you,
yes.
especially on the hair.
Always, yeah, always.
Especially on the hair, which is really like, I don't know, it's a beautiful thing. I don't know where it started, how we got here, but here
And
we
it
are.
doesn't matter what it looks like. You could be bald.
Exactly.
And if it looks good on you, I'm going to say, hey,
Absolutely.
you look really good with no hair.
Absolutely,
'Cause
yes.
I couldn't pull no hair.
Yeah, no.
I think I
cannot
have
do that.
horns.
Yes.
I feel like I don't have an even scalp. I think so. My
I
scalp
just
is
have a
not
big
even.
scalp. It just goes on and on and on. So it would be no end to that. It'd be very distracting to people around me, you know? But so, and speaking of sisterhood, I met you guys socially from our friend Moire, but I also had heard your story on Engage a few years ago where you talked about surviving Westgate.
Yeah.
And like many people, you were in Westgate Mall on the day that it was attacked with you together as a
We were
family.
together.
So I know it wasn't an easy thing to live through, but would you indulge us by just telling us a little bit about that day? And yeah, maybe, I know it's an involved story, and I encourage everyone who's listening to actually check out the Engage link because it's powerful, and I'll include it in the show notes. But just tell us about that day.
You know, for us, Lily, one of the things is it was actually what we're talking about, the sisterhood, which is just, it was a Saturday and I'm like, what are you doing, Sharon? And she had some stuff to do and I need to do some stuff. Okay, let's do this together. And then we'll get lunch and then we'll do, you know, it was that thing where your sister's at large somewhere and we can do your errands and then we can do my errands and then we can do something together.
Yeah.
It was such an ordinary day and it was, we spend a lot of time together. So if either of us has a gig that we're working on, we will automatically rope in the other into that thing. And so that was partly it. I was doing a gig where I was shopping for a client of mine.
Okay.
And shopping is not the thing that I enjoy the most, as she loves shopping.
I do
and
too.
so, oh really?
friends.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, Shaz, you know, let's go do this thing.
Yeah.
And then we'll grab lunch at Art Cafe. And I should say, actually, one of the blessings in that thing was that our other sister, Terry, one of our other sisters, and she had two small children. Was she? Did she have two? She was in the second. She was in Jordan, so she was pregnant and with a little child.
Okay.
And she had been in Nairobi. She was living in Mombasa at the time.
Okay.
And when we're together, the three of us are really inseparable. And 2 days before that, she had just had such a strong urge to go back home. And we're like, no, just like, let's just have the weekend together. We'll have lunch together because we were all working at the time. And we're like, we haven't really hung out this week. Just hang on and you can go on Sunday. And on Thursday, she just had this thing. It was like she was being driven out of Nairobi. And looking back, one one of the big things that we're so grateful for is that she wasn't around, because the plan was that she would be waiting for us at Art Cafe.
Wow.
With her little boy.
Yeah.
And we'd do all our errands and then we'd meet up for lunch. And I'm so glad that she wasn't
Yeah.
there, because then that would have been really hard on her and a small child.
Of course. And
You
it
know?
was, we know that many people lost
Yes,
their lives on
in
that
Art
patio
Cafe.
and at
Yes.
Art Cafe that
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible grace.
And so we were just hanging out, doing our thing. We were in the Nakumat on the ground floor.
Yeah.
The Nakumat supermarket on the ground floor. And I was looking for some stuff and she was looking for something else. And it wasn't a supermarket that I was very familiar with, the layoff. And so, you know, you're kind of just walking around going from shop, where is this thing?
Yeah.
And then we finally find each other. And I start to ask her something. And I didn't even get to the end of that question that I was asking her when we realized that there's just an absolutely unbelievable commotion. People were running in and literally crashing into things. I have never seen anything like that. It was like when you see stampedes in movies.
Yeah.
It was exactly like that. And you see, for us in the shop, it's so loud that you don't hear what's happening outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we were completely unaware of what was
What was
going on
happening, yeah.
until it met us where we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And Shaz, you guys got separated at this point when she's looking around for things. You were not together at that moment?
so we had just gotten back together. I tried to ask her something.
Okay.
And then we saw people running and screaming, and it was a kind of pandemonium that's very difficult to describe.
Like the worst, like a movie you've watched and never want to see again. Really, really, that feeling of what is really happening,
Right.
You know. And we always say we're so grateful that we had just reconnected, because I can't imagine trying to find. I can't imagine what that would have been like.
If you'd lost
And
each
how it
other,
was like for other people looking for people in different parts of the mall or the supermarket.
Yeah.
So how
you know.
soon did you realize that this was not just, you know, in Nairobi we are used to a little bit of action and things happening and, you know, this mob responses to people. When did you realize this was not the normal kind of incident?
I would say maybe just as quickly as it happened, because of the terror that came with it.
Yeah.
And I remember, and that's the thing that we talk about, Annie grabbing a lady and asking her, what is it? You know, what's happening? What is this thing that's happening? And her telling, well, now Annie says, because she heard it, haven't you heard? They're people, they're men with guns, you know, and that was the thing of going very
They're
quickly,
killing people,
very
yes.
aware
Yeah.
that, oh my God, this thing is happening. We're in this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And what's your first emotion upon hearing that?
I think definitely without a doubt fear, panic, but also we need to do something, you know. And I remember that part. Annie wanted to run out of the mall, and I'm just going,
I would just run away. But
I'm not running into the direction of where people are running.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know what that is that made me think, okay, no, what we're gonna do, we're gonna first of all run, we're gonna hide, we're gonna figure this thing out, you know. And it's just that thing of also, where are we running and hiding, you know, in this supermarket. If you know anything about supermarkets and how they work and how they're designed, you're not hiding, not really
There's
hiding
not like
anywhere.
an easy exit out, except the way you came in.
And when you're inside, there's a lot of bright white light. So trying to hide in that space is very hard. But also Sharon's a great person in a crisis, because she's so calm. And I'm not.
I asked you before we started who's the eldest, and I said, Annie, are you the eldest? And that was met by a lot of laughter. So let's reveal now, who's the oldest or who's older?
I'm older.
You're older.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that I'm older than her.
There's something about the way you carry yourself that kind of says I'm in charge. I don't know how.
Really? Oh, I like that. Not to say that you're Sharon.
You'd be older in charge.
So even though she's the younger one, you kind of listen to her, huh? Or you just kind of, when she's like, no, we're not running out.
She's not the younger one.
No, sorry. Okay, Shaz is older. So who's the oldest in your family? You're 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm
where do
actually
you
the
fall?
youngest. I'm the last born.
You're number 5.
Yeah, I'm actually the youngest one, and she's 4th.
You're 4th. You guys are at the tail end. Okay. So she listened to you enough to realize,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
we'll go and hide.
Yeah.
If I remember from the talk also, Annie, you were expecting at the
I
time.
was.
How far along were you in your
I
pregnancy?
was 4 months into my
4
pregnancy.
months. Okay.
And it had been such a difficult pregnancy at that point. And one of the things that we talk about is how that morning I just gotten back my results from the doctor, and he was so I wouldn't say he was so excited. He's very cautious, but he said, yeah, I think okay, we're gonna see this baby. I
Yeah,
think there's a good chance we'll see this baby. And we'd lost 2 before, and so you just kind of think, oh, I'm out of. It was such a happy day for that reason, because you're like, oh, okay, we're out of the woods, right?
yeah.
We had no idea.
This baby is now your firstborn?
Yes, my son River. Yeah.
Wow.
Who's now 6.
Yeah.
Um,
And so Shaz, you must have known that, right? That she'd had this good news.
Oh, my
and that
goodness.
This was a
Yes.
relief, I'm sure, for your whole family.
Yes.
Because it was
yes,
the thing
yes.
that we were talking about. We're
Yeah.
going to see mom later. We're going to have a that whole thing.
Yeah. It was on
Of,
your
oh my
mind.
goodness, how
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
All those months of shots and things and trying to stay pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also a journey on its own.
Absolutely.
And this wonderful news that we're kind of quietly celebrating as well.
Yeah.
Was going to be one of those things.
Yeah.
So to finish the story of Westgate, so we found ourselves in this place where we were hiding with a bunch of other strangers who are now our closest best friends. We're all in this experience that is just harrowing. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Harrowing.
Absolutely.
It was harrowing.
Sounds very appropriate.
Yeah, the thing that you never want to wish on anyone.
Yeah.
That was this thing that we're going through, and just the all the emotions that you go through when you're hiding, when you're begging for your life, because that's also that thing. We're praying for it. We are people of faith, but also human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just praying for. We don't know what this thing is, but please make it end, and please make it. And there's a lot of stuff that that didn't come up in that talk, for example. And for one of the things, because Annie by then had turned off her phone, I kept my phone on, and I remember one of my friends who, in hindsight, questioned her choice to do that, sent me and I guess the group that we were in on WhatsApp images of what was happening on the rooftop. And there's nothing like that, Lily.
Yeah.
Where we're like, okay, we're in this thing, we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But we're also getting pictures of what's happening.
Yeah.
And just being going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is hours, if I remember from your talk that you were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we're there
I remember
about-
being at home and watching, and it was hours. And you
Yeah.
guys were there.
We were there
pretty much
about
at the
5
beginning?
hours.
5 hours.
We're there
Wow.
about 5 hours because we got
Wow.
out maybe
Yeah.
6, about 6 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide, okay, we have to do something? We will either stay here or we'll leave. When did you make a plan?
I feel like it was one of those collective things, right? Where everyone in the huddle that we were in was kind of like, okay, it's a bit quieter.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't see them like we could see them earlier, because at some point we could see them, and we could see them, up and down the shop, the lanes.
Did they ever find where you guys were hiding?
No.
No, thankfully. Wow, incredible.
No.
And also just other people who, because I remember seeing this guy, remember that guy who was
Yes.
hiding?
Who was just lying.
hiding.
He- But there was nowhere to hide. Yeah. Yeah.
But really, it's that thing of you just, like, if this was the thing, Lily, that you
Yeah.
had to hide behind, you would hide behind
Right,
it and
right.
pray
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
just remember thinking, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
he's so close to them. They're gonna see him. They're gonna see him.
Yeah.
See him. He's so exposed.
exposed,
You
yeah.
know, that's what that was.
Yeah.
And so eventually, at some point, when the rounds had stopped and had gotten quite long enough, and I can't even tell you what was the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
that made us decide. And it wasn't dead quiet, because one of the things I remember is the Nakoma radio was still playing music and all
Yeah,
that.
it would come on and off. It was the most
That
annoying
must have
thing.
been also
Yeah.
like otherworldly, like to be
Yes.
like, what reality are we
Yes.
really in? right now?
You know, it's
Yeah.
that thing, honestly, Lily, like I remember I talk about this a bunch of times, of how you can be in in the same situation, it's a horrible situation, but 2 different things happening at the exact same time.
yeah.
So
both
we're
ends,
here,
huh?
we're praying, like, oh God, please, let's get us out of here. But also, Mary Shackles.
Yes, Shackles was playing.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think maybe it's a self-protection mechanism.
It is, I think so.
Mind is a
That sort
powerful
of thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what, because they
Yeah.
always talk about
If you
all the
can get a
weird
break,
things.
you will take the break.
Yeah.
You could be in
Yeah.
such a horrible situation, but if there's something that can give your mind a break, you will actually take the break.
Which is all the little weird things that we
Yes.
realized that we noticed after
Yeah.
being there for such a long time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So then it gets quiet, you decide to leave, your phone is on. If I remember from your talk also, you'd been a little bit in touch with your family.
Yes.
But
Shared
also, obviously, you're not carrying on play by play of what's happening, but they knew you were there. They knew you were in danger.
Yeah, and then at some point we're like, okay, turn this phone off, because everyone kind of went and did the, okay, where do we go?
Right.
That thing.
Because you have to collectively agree, right?
Yes.
Do we stay or do we go?
Exactly.
Right.
And then us coming out of where we were hiding with the people we were with, and then also discovering that there were other people who were hiding, just also coming out of
different
wherever they were
places.
hiding.
You just made a mad dash out of Nakumat?
No. So someone had hit the main switch. So it was actually dark, but there was a little ambient light coming in.
Okay.
But then also with all the fighting, a lot of shelves had fallen over.
Okay.
And stuff had spilt on the floor, and so we were trying not to go through the entrance.
Okay.
So we're trying to look for to go through the cold room and the exit through the cold room, the storage, which is not something that
Okay.
So it wasn't familiar. It wasn't a familiar route that we were using, but then also you're stepping over a lot of things, you know. And I remember one thing for me, I remember praying, just saying, I just didn't want to see. I don't want to see. You know, I was like, God, I cannot handle this. I cannot handle that. You know, just help me just come out. And then we got into the storeroom, and there had been something happening there. I don't know if it was grenades or what it was. So, you know, they have huge shelves that go to the ceiling, and some of them had toppled over. So you're trying to climb over and under, and
oh my goodness.
And the exit is not even that apparent. You know, you can kind of see a small door somewhere. So you're trying to make your way to that. And as you get closer, now the security forces, there was a firefight going on outside, and so you're hearing that again and not sure which side of things it felt like it took very long. Maybe it took 20 minutes, maybe less. I don't know. Time is so elastic and such you're not sure. You're not sure. Yeah.
When you escaped, there was a really beautiful part of your story where you said you saw someone on the other side.
No, you tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are so polite to each other. This is a unique sisterhood, I have to say. Yeah, you go.
No, because it was such a moment. It really, really was. So as we were in that area, so sort of like the back of the mall where all the of the supermarket,
The service entrance,
service entrance. Thank you. Where all the deliveries and that were being made. And like I said earlier, there were so many of us that were leaving, and that's the thing. Like I'll never forget that all of us just kind of going, okay, and doing that thing. And the most unusual thing to see was somebody coming in. Like you've never really, when you think about it, like who will be coming in, right?
Where are you going?
And where are they coming in through? So as we're making our way through, and I will never forget this all the days of my life. I remember coming closer to this figure of this person that was coming into the mall, and then having a moment and going, honey, that's Dad.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please don't make me cry at the beginning of the podcast. I haven't even asked you any real questions yet.
But really, that's a thing that my dad actually came
Yeah.
to look for us. And it's the thing of, by the time he was coming to look for us, we were not in touch.
Yeah. Your phone had gone off? No.
It wasn't that thing. So he had no way, when you think about it, of knowing how to get in.
Yeah.
And we think of so many other things that are around that, of him coming to get us.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that somehow he managed to convince these whoever they were.
KDF, because the place had already been taken over by the military, and he just kind of was like, no, you don't understand. My girls are in there, and he was like, no civilians are in there. He's like, yes,
fine,
but my girls are in. What you're not hearing me say, and he had left his car quite far up and was walking in
because no cars by then. So we were able to come close to
and thankfully he was coming. We sometimes have this conversation with him and say, Dad, where were you going to? He says, I don't know. I don't know where. I knew you were in there. I was just going in there, you know. Amazing. And we talk about this in the talk, that he said he had said a prayer and just said, you know, God, just make it easy. Just bring my girls right to where I am. I'm going, and just bring them to me. And it was like we had arranged to meet there. The ease with which we found each other in that mayhem. And again, it was Sharon who had the presentness of mind to see that was Dad, because I was like high on adrenaline. I was going to run all the way to Karen. I was not looking for people in the crowd. I was ready to leg it to, you know, wherever, you know.
Kipchoge was coming out.
Kipchoge
You
was-
were out.
I was
on a
trying,
mission.
exactly. And you know that it makes things like, you know, when you see movies and you know, this experience made me understand a lot of things that we see in movies, like when you see people just kind of getting lost in when a disasters happen and they just keep running. I understood what that feels like. It is just an impulse to be as far away as possible and you don't have the wherewithal to think, oh, let me get my bearings and what is the most logical thing to do. I didn't have it. For me, I was just done with Westgate. You know, I wanted out, you know. And so Sharon sees that.
Yeah. And so we go to Dad.
And we go to Dad.
And these two, Dad and Annie, lose it.
Yeah, we're emotional people.
Can we keep walking? Maybe just get out.
But I don't know if it's such a good thing that I'm calm in certain moments because now I look back and I go, I needed to cry. I needed to have a moment. Like when they moved your people away and how it's a Kenyan pastime. But we like to sit and discuss what's happening.
Yeah.
And I remember just stepping away from it. Annie and Dad were like, "Whoa," they were doing that thing, right? And, you know, that thing.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad.
When they comforted each other and commiserated. I remember standing back going and hearing all this conversation of guys going, Uyoni, you know, I think that's the father. And I'm going, yeah, it's the father. Yeah, he came.
I might as well moderate this. Make introduction.
Let me fill in the gaps for them properly. Get it right. This is why you're so good at comedy, Sharon, because you do that thing where you step back from things, right? I am in the soup, right?
Yes,
I am not.
You are in the soup. You are making the soup.
Yeah.
Adding to the soup, Annie.
Exactly.
This is however. Yeah.
I will chop my fingers into the soup to add taste to it because I just, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, how did surviving something like Westgate change, or I don't know, your sisterhood, your family?
You know, just in the way that I think, even when we started this conversation earlier, talking about Corona and the way that a situation finds you, and we thought. I remember the first time I heard about Corona, I thought, okay, yeah, well, whatever, not for us, whatever, you know, it will pass.
Right.
And then you realize that actually this is going to be a long engagement, right?
Exactly.
That was what happened for us as a family. So shortly after Westgate, so, you know, we started off with a difficult pregnancy and then thinking, okay, we're done. Now the year is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then Westgate happens. And then we think, okay, now we're done. Now the year is going to be okay. And immediately after that, Dad gets really sick and he's in hospital. And up until that time, I don't think I can recall Dad being unwell, definitely never being in hospital. And he suddenly was very sick, you know, and he was in cardiac care. And then while we were dealing with that and trying to understand what was happening with his heart, they discovered that he has a brain aneurysm.
Oh my goodness.
And then it was like, oh, in fact, the heart stopped being an issue. The doctors were no longer even they were like, yeah, his heart. This aneurysm. Oh my goodness. And our sister Terry sent the CT scans to a hospital, a doctor friend of hers in India, and he was asking, so he couldn't believe that this person was still alive.
Wow.
And so it was this emergency. But here's the thing, it was an emergency. And we had to wait for him to be able to get the surgery because nobody in Africa could do it. We had to look for
Not in Kenya anyway.
no one in
Maybe.
South Africa was a possibility, and so it was like maybe Turkey, maybe India. He ended up going to India, but it was months before he would go, and they kept telling him, "We don't even know how you're alive with this thing because it was at a junction in his. It was and the size of it, and so it was months of that, and I remember at the time, we'd take turns taking him to the hospital for his tests to see if he was fit to fly, because he has to fly to India. And we did this for about 4 months. They kept sending us back and going, he cannot fly now. But it's an emergency and he has to get there right now.
Right. Oh my
But he cannot fly and come back in 3 weeks.
Come
back in 3 weeks and come back in 3 weeks. And we did come back in 3 weeks for 4 months.
Wow.
And then at that point, I had River. and then that was not a straightforward birth. That was, it was another thing, you know. And then so
Dramatic birth.
it was it was a very River came into the world with a lot of drama, and so it felt like as a family that we didn't even have time, I think, to really process it. Because there was another thing, and then there was another thing, and then Dad was off to India. A week after River was born, Dad was off to India for his surgery, and he went with Sharon and Mom, and then came back. And it was about 2 years
Of just intense.
of intense things happening, one after the other, and then Mom goes to India for surgery after that, and then so it took us a while. It was actually a couple of years before we really had in fact, I'd say, am I talking too much? I'd say that it wasn't until we were invited to do the Talk for Engage that we sat down and talked about, so what was your experience really like? And this was almost 5 years in, 4 years, it was 4 years in, and going, so what do you remember? Do you remember this? And what do you remember?
It was a journal.
Yeah. And
So was that time in between, like from Westgate through all of your dad's illness, your pregnancy, do you feel like during that time you were just kind of like
you're just
like 24 hours? We just take the next 24 hours. There isn't this time
Exactly
to
like
really.
that, yeah.
But in the process, you also must be changing, right? You must also be like evolving into like a different version of yourself as a result of this. When do you think you realized? I remember Shaz, you talked about how you didn't realize that you had a resilience in you until this happened. So at what point do you kind of look around and be like, oh, I handle traffic differently, or I handle anxiety differently, or you know what I mean? Like when do you start to wake up and say,
I think one of the things that I notice even about myself now is when you notice that, like when you're just about to lose it about something that is highly insignificant, that you're making very
I have a lot of those moments. Please help me.
so you have a moment of going, oh wait, not important, not the biggest thing,
not a thing,
or not a thing.
Not a thing at all.
So we say that all the time. We say not a thing. It's actually not a thing. So whatever that thing is it a friendship that maybe, what is it? What's the thing? Is it the work thing? Is it, it's not a thing. In the big scheme of things, it's not a thing. But also, it's the reminder, and it's one of those things, and I wish I could just say it in a way that doesn't sound so like meme-ish or whatever it is, but where you remember, I have moments of going, oh, wait, okay, this is bad, whatever this is, this embarrassment, this failed project, this whatever, but you know what?
I'm here.
Prayed for this thing.
Yeah.
Prayed for this thing to be alive.
Yeah, we just pray to be alive.
Yeah.
It's just to be alive.
It's one of the experiences of the thing that I was asking for.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Failure again. To feel frustration again.
And you realize you'll take it. I'll take all of them. I'll take all of the good and the bad and you're like,
Proof of
okay.
life.
Yes.
That's so good. You're going to make me cry again. I just am so humbled by your words, just to think I prayed to be alive.
Yeah.
So when it's not
You prayed desperately. Yeah.
And it's okay. Heartbreak. Oh, it comes with that. It hurts.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
also for me, it's made me less apologetic. And people always say this, right? When you have a near-death experience. But it's a thing where, and maybe I feel it now, especially with the comedy and all of that sort of thing, where I'm like, it's okay. We can laugh about this thing. Y'all don't know. Or maybe you do.
Yes.
Yes. Collective breath.
Yes, not a thing. I'm going to hold on to that, and I'm going to start using it with my kids.
Not a thing.
Oh, no, not a thing. Guys, guess what? Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, it's really, I love this story because even before we got into the details of Westgate, you were talking about this lunch with your dad that you're having on Wednesdays. So clearly he's doing better.
Yes, doing
he's
very
well,
good. Yes.
And you've continued to like build these family ties. When you think about not just this moment, but looking ahead, it's important for me to think about, why do Black families matter? Why does sisterhood matter? If you had to kind of crystallize that into a simple idea, what would you say?
I think, well, I think a couple of things. I think one, especially when I think of because I'm of my siblings, so to speak, I'm the one I'm not married, don't have children.
Okay.
But because I'm part of this bigger, my nuclear family, which is fantastic, is such a varied gift in the experience of life for everything that I ever need. And the reason why that matters so much is because I have such a great reference point to keep going back to either be grateful for or to tap into when I need it for my comedy or when I tap into for help, because we do this a lot of the time. actually, can we just say, for the record,
Yeah.
this interview was actually for me.
Oh, that's true.
And then this light-skinned young girl who I've been trying to shake off for a while.
Only 30 plus years.
Yes, she is. You know, this is true.
Me too.
You're right. No, but it's this. Is that she's like, okay, Shaz, if this is important to you, number one, but two, if it's gonna make the story and the experience better, I'll come and do it.
Well, and Shaz, I will say,
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you. This is true. This was going to be a Shaz one-on-one. I listened to her recently on another podcast, and I was like, I know they did not have her on their podcast before I had her on my podcast because me and Eric are friends. So I was like, oh no. So I texted her right after I listened to that, saying, you have to come on Uproot. But then I just listened again to your family story, and I just think, again, you have a beautiful, strong family, not perfect.
No.
But I love what you're saying about it gives you a reference point.
Yeah.
Like, I have a North Star. I have a definition of
Yeah.
what love and commitment is. So things that might compete with that, I can come back here and see what's true. And I think I just wanted to explore that too. Like not everybody has had that.
Yes.
And certainly though, I think that's also like the secret to our success as a people.
Yeah.
Like how would we have endured
Yeah.
colonialism?
Yes.
Transatlantic slavery, all these other traumas, had it not been for our families, sisters who sustain us. Annie,
And for sure, I think that in the Black experience is a lot of encouragement in family.
Yeah.
We have to do a lot of encouraging.
Yes.
I think obviously I can't speak about anyone else's experience, but I think that our histories and the things that we face means that a lot of our interaction is about us cheering each other on.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you do that. You want to do that. Yes, you do. I think that we have a lot more of that
Yes,
as Black people because there are so many blockades in the way.
Yeah.
And that's what, for me, why Black family is important.
Absolutely.
Because there's many things that family can do for each other. You can keep each other accountable, but we have to encourage each other. The big thing that we do for each other is we just push each other on. Like, sister, you do that. What are you doing?
Exactly.
That looks so good. Yes, do that. Keep doing that. Oh, you're the first one doing that. And in our generation, we are still the ones who have many firsts.
And we absolutely are. There's left and right.
And right, many firsts. And we have to go,
Yeah.
you keep doing that, Lily. That thing you're doing, do that. Because others need to see you do that so that they can do it too.
Absolutely.
You
Well,
know?
and you guys, what everyone did not see is that you guys walked into my house with a warm banana bread, which was smelling divine. I mean, how does that happen? Even I've asked you to come spend your time, come to my place, record this, and you come bearing gifts.
Mom.
Mom.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, we need to
Yes.
have her on the show too.
Oh,
You know,
Lily, you
'cause
will
it
fall
speaks
in
to
love
the-
with her.
I can imagine. In
She
fact,
is.
I wish
Yes.
you could call her. This is like maybe call a friend or dial a friend.
She's so soft spoken and
What did she
humble
teach
that you
you? Tell
don't
me.
know how strong she is.
Yeah.
You don't know how strong, and we took it for granted. I think growing up, I think one of the things about family first, we're discussing this yesterday, is that growing up it was very much about the siblings. I was, what is Sharon doing and Terry and that thing.
Yeah.
And as we've gotten older, suddenly we've discovered our parents and how stellar they are and how ahead of their time. There's things that our parents did with us in the 80s and the 90s that I am hoping to do with my children now and still feel like a pioneer for doing it. And I asked them, how did you guys know this? How did you know
What
to
did they do?
it?
Tell me something that sticks out as you look back at those memories that they did well, that they got right.
Our parents gave us a very... I'll go first, right?
Yeah. Go.
Our parents gave us...
One, like you said, just showing up in this interview.
Should be upset.
I had an answer shirt. Okay, no. We had a unique upbringing because we did grow up in a lot of privilege, but then our parents were also very big on giving us the full range of experiences.
Okay.
And so, for instance, we'd go, say, summer holidays, we would go, you'd go to Europe, and then you'd come back and work on the farm for the rest of the holiday. And it was that balance.
What do you mean by work on the farm?
So we had
really,
farms.
really work?
Like work. And our
Work.
parents were strict. And Dad was like, he ran his family like a military.
Yeah.
I mean, he was...
Don't believe
people,
we grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
And it wasn't...
Looking at you now, you don't.
No, and it wasn't the romantic farm.
yeah.
It was a farm. We were... It wasn't the... No, it was... We had coffee farms, and we would have to pick coffee, and everybody had a quota that everyone had a bucket that they had
Really?
to collect.
That you had to fill?
Yeah, and picking
Wow.
coffee is not easy
No, it's
work.
not.
Yeah,
It's not.
You
By the
know-
way, Ethiopian created coffee.
Oh,
birthplace.
Another
You know,
podcast.
I just wanted to mention that in here, in case you thought maybe.
In case we thought it came from the
in case you
Kenyan
thought it came
Highlands.
from Kenyan
From the
Highlands.
Kenyan Highlands.
Just in case. But continue with your story. No.
Oh my gosh, really?
So coffee. So this kind of keeping in balance.
Yes.
Your privilege.
And they say that you can do that and you can
your
do this too.
responsibility, Yeah.
You can do that and you can do this
But
too.
that you also have to do it.
And you
Yeah.
have to do
Yeah.
it.
And I remember one
Yeah.
holiday. Remember the holiday? Dad and Mom decided that what we needed because
Oh my God.
the farm was flooding was to dig
Trenches.
along the perimeter. Wow! And they were like, people are going on holiday, but we have 5 children, so all of you get your bits.
Everybody,
and do it.
yeah.
And I'm like, and it was one of those things. Now we can laugh about it, but I remember going back from the holidays.
Yeah, with blistered fingers.
Just having blistered, and I'm being so embarrassed and so like.
Yeah, we couldn't tell people what we'd done.
Basah,
And we were digging black cotton
So
soil.
aren't you glad you have that story?
Now, yeah, not then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so.
But then going, oh, this is hard. Why? This is
Yeah.
unfair.
Yeah.
I just want to also go to Mombasa like everyone else.
Yeah,
You know.
but that's that resilience thing.
Yeah.
Because I think you can maybe teach your children resilience. You just don't know when it's going to come. Our parents weren't preparing us for a terror attack, for sure. But just giving you that grit to just do the hard thing and push until you do the thing. You know, that was the thing that they were trying to teach us. And you don't know when it's going to come.
Yeah.
And also pushing us in front and always doing that thing. Because,
Yeah.
you know, it's also... So the thing is when our parents are... when we go to shags, because they are the kind of people who are
Upcountry.
very generous. Shags, up country.
Yes.
For our non-Kenyan listeners, when you go back, up country to your homestead.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the country.
Yeah.
So there everyone adores them because they have done real things that have changed their lives and all of that. And it's very easy to be the city kids who just sit back and watch the thing and do all of that. And they were always like, no, we were going there at the church, we're going to sing this thing, someone write a poem, you're going to perform this thing. And we loved / resented it.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
You know.
Mostly resented.
Mostly
Let's keep it real.
But you still had to do it well. You had to do it and do it well.
I
Yeah.
also think it was part of the reason why we bonded. We have our own special bonding.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to hear as parents too, those of us who have come from a history where we can look back and see, like my grandparents were all illiterate. So, you know, I don't have to look far to realize how much I have now. You know, like they were selling veggies. My grandmother's
In
were-
living memory.
Yeah,
It's true.
selling veggies by the side of the road. And so it's good to hear that we should keep doing those things that were hard and that brought us here. Otherwise, if we make our lives too soft for our children, what will they look back on and say, I've done? You know,
had
they'll
to
just
do.
be like, oh, I grew up in, in a lot of privilege and nothing else, which what a shame that would be to our legacy, to our grandparents and forebears who came before us. Let me ask you, what has your sister taught you? Annie, what has Sharon taught you? Sharon, what has Annie taught you?
Sharon is
And I'll say, actually, I feel bad because you have 3 other siblings. Maybe I should make it broader, but to include all of them. But I guess I'll keep it narrow for the sake of the interview. But what has your sister taught you that?
I think the one thing that I find that especially now, I'm always learning from Sharon, is that she's a person who follows her conviction. And I think there's such a push to, you know, with whatever it is, whether it's her modeling or the comedy. I remember when Sharon told me she wants to do comedy. This was maybe 2-3 years ago. When was it? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
A year ago?
December
Yeah.
2000.
And I just was kind of like, comedy. But the one thing I remember telling her, and I really, because I just kind of sat with it for a while and it didn't mean anything to me. I had nothing to give her. But the one thing that I know about Sharon is if Sharon wants to do something, she will find a way to make it work, whatever that thing is. So I was like, okay, we'll see. And she doesn't let anything hold her back, which is amazing to me. You know, Sharon will go, I want to do a swimsuit shoot. And I can see that in our culture, there are so many things that would advise you against that thing.
Absolutely.
This is not a good idea. Let me tell you all the reasons why it's not a good idea. And you would think that our parents who are very conservative would be the ones saying that, but they're so excited. Actually, every time she does something, and I go, this is why she's the favorite. Because I don't think anybody else could get away with this. You know, she is the favorite. It's really bad, but it's true.
That's a big title to get from your sibling to call you.
No, she is, yeah. I can prove it. I have receipts. I have the receipts.
So the power of her conviction. That's
Power
a
of her
pretty incredible
conviction,
lesson to learn from your
And
sister.
it's a gentle conviction, which is very much like our mom. Mom will never shout about what she's doing. And if you're not going to do it with her, she will never ask you twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it will get done in her own little gentle way.
Yeah.
And you will be co-opted without knowing that you find yourself just going along with this thing.
Doing this.
Yes,
So
yeah.
we're doing this.
Yeah, that's like you know? Yeah, I am not a night owl. And I find myself doing, well,
Comment.
pre-corona.
Well, okay, then I can say the thing that I say that I from her.
Yeah.
So we were watching, so her 2 kids and their cousins. So those old 5 kids, you know, playing outside and sharing the bike, and then one bike wasn't, you know, had a flat tire. So her son River is such a joy to watch with other kids, because he enjoys his thing, but he enjoys your enjoyment for your enjoyment's sake. And she was commenting like, "Oh, this is so nice. I love how he's gonna go around the estate or whatever with all the kids and really enjoy them and encourage them and all of that sort of thing." And you know, I was like, yeah, he's really like that. But I'm going, that's exactly how Annie is in many ways, you know, because she's not a night owl, and here she is organizing a nanny and an Uber and this and the other and dinner and whatever, so she can come for my gig. So already we know she doesn't want to be out at night, but you know, comedy shows don't happen in the morning.
They do not happen at 2 in the afternoon.
But they
No,
should.
they do not.
So we should reconsider this.
I would host a midday comedy event, actually, because I'm with you. I'm at
And it could be-
9:36 p.m. pretty much sharp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
So-
you would have
Yes, you would have a whole new audience, a whole new
exactly of people
group
who
of
don't
people
come
you've
out at
never
night.
reached before.
Exactly.
Think about it. We're happy to be there at 3 p.m. Delighted.
3
We'll
p.m.
stay till 6.
Yes.
Even. Tell you. 6:30 even.
Exactly.
7.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing
Yeah.
seven. No.
We'll
No.
put
Not many people will enjoy your thing that they gain nothing from, and that's the other thing, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm the one on the stage, I'm doing the thing, and
it's
you
your name
know.
in the paper. It's
Yeah,
your picture on
well-
the Daily Nation. Was it Daily Nation recently? The big spread and the cute leather jacket, the collar popped. We saw you, Chad. yes.
I still wanted to wear that leather jacket
Yes.
today, but I was like, it's hot.
It's a bit hot.
And I know I'm gonna look cute, but I will be sweating.
Dripping into it.
Yeah.
But I'm so lucky that I've learned what it's like, really, to champion, not just because I feel like we can also do that sort of fist bump on, you know, good to see you doing this thing on social media, thumbs up, all of that sort of thing. But actually, when you invest in someone else's thing that they enjoy doing, and for them,
Success, yeah.
it doesn't come back to you. I was like, oh, I need to learn that thing.
that's beautiful.
So that's the thing I think I learned from Annie.
Yeah, that's really powerful. It just makes me want to stop the interview, call my sister, send her some
Yes.
flowers.
Oh,
right
that's-
now.
that's
you know?
excellent.
Because that is just.
Where's your sister, Lily?
She is in Washington D.C.
Ooh.
Yeah, 7 hours behind. But we do talk. You know, one thing we've done in quarantine that's all of us like. So there's me and my sister, and we have a brother, but then we have cousins who are 2 sisters. They don't have other siblings. We grew up together.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
so we're like
yes,
a group of 4 sisters, and right before Corona happened, we saw each other, and you know, we're all busy, we're, you know, adults, and we said, you know, every year let's do it like a sister retreat. Like we're gonna get it, because I live here, they're actually all in DC. Anyway, we just committed to that. Corona happened, and so since then though, we have like weekly Zoom calls. And just and you know, it's noisy most of the time. I can't hear anything they're saying. They can't hear anything I'm saying. There are people walking in and out of the cameras, halfway on the ceiling. You know how those Zoom family meetings are. But there is not a single time I don't get off of that, and my heart is not full. Like it just feels like I just have new fuel, new energy for this crazy
For
season.
sure,
It's that
yeah.
powerful sister love and, you know, connection that very few other things can replace. So I just have a few more questions for you that I want to just talk about. You are a family of 5, 1 brother, 4 sisters. Give me some highlights. What from that childhood kind of stays with you now as an adult?
Wow. Well, here's the thing. So the house of James and Helen,
Yes.
for our parents, I think was really still is a very interesting one to be in. We're the 2 youngest siblings. So of the 5, we're the ones at the end, and I feel like we always do this thing where we kind of have this like. The older ones are at it again. Oh my gosh. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's fine. You know, get therapy, pursue your passion. Like, are we still dealing with this? We have that. I'm sure they look at us and they're like, oh,
You're irresponsible and focused.
job.
Yes, exactly.
therapist. Huh?
Therapist.
Now.
Yeah.
Comedian.
Your children don't go to school. You're teaching them. Are you a teacher? No, you're not.
Homeschool.
You're homeschooling.
So you're home.
Yes.
I feel like
Because I feel like the first three came very quickly, and then there's a gap, and then the two of us are close, and then
but it's such a big gap.
it
But
feels.
still, I think different in how we were raised.
Well, I'm sure your parents were a little bit more tired.
Oh,
by the time
yeah.
you showed up, Chaz. And then by the time Eddie's here, they're
They were like, it's okay.
guys,
They raised themselves. They raised themselves.
It's true. And then the siblings tried to raise us, but we showed them.
Look at you now. Look who's on this podcast now. We don't see Grace, Terry, or Andrew. Look at you. The come up, living life.
But really, I think we joke about it, but I think they look at us like,
These guys, like, they're never gonna get. They're never gonna be serious.
Are you friends as siblings, as adult
Yes.
siblings? Are there hope for us parents who have young ones and or nieces and nephews that we're looking at who are just constantly fighting or whatever? Are you friends?
For sure, we're friends. Partly because growing up, we lived, like we said, on a farm, and we didn't have neighbors. We didn't have neighbors
white people and their horses.
and dogs.
Yeah.
I will not touch that. I'm so tempted by believing, but it's
True. Their dogs, their
Yes.
horses, and them.
And that was it, So
We had to be our own friends.
we had to be each other's entertainment and friends, and we had to sort a lot of stuff. And our parents were very hands-off in some ways socially with us. They didn't try to police our relationship very much.
Except for making us try to get along.
Do you think they did?
I think so. And I think, and the reason why I say that a lot is because I always think of how mom was always like, you guys, you have to look out for each other. There's no one else who's going to be on your side as much as you guys need to be on each other's side. And that was
I
definitely
think so.
A mom thing. Yeah. If there's anything, honestly, I know we joke about it and resilience and we say all of these things, but I think those, like those lessons definitely go from dad to a huge extent.
Yeah.
But the softer things, love each other, look out for each other, be
Yeah.
each other's cheerleader, that whole thing is definitely something that we got from mom.
Yeah.
And just fostering that thing and encouraging us to do that thing. And so now it comes naturally, and I wouldn't rather be doing anything else with anyone else. Genuinely, I'm
siblings. Oh, that is truly, I think, every family's hope is that you will be friends, that you will choose.
Yes.
Because you can't choose who your siblings are.
Yes,
but you
yes.
can choose.
You can choose.
not
Yes,
to
exactly.
become friends. So to extend that idea a little bit, how do you take care of one another? How can we take better care of not only our biological sisters, but those friends who become like sisters and become like family? How can we do that, especially in this moment?
Especially in this moment, right? With all the things that are happening and all the, it's such a thing. Let me tell you. So with all the protests and all of that stuff that we've been watching now, you can't avoid, even if you're just like trying to do a social media fun binge, you can't get away from some of these images. And one of the best things that I remember seeing was this image of, it was one of those, I can't remember what state it was in America, and there was a protest of sorts, and there was a young kid who was like trying to shield this older woman from like the police or whatever was happening. And I remember just thinking, what did I just see? What is that? We don't see, I don't know that we see enough of that. And I remember just thinking, that's amazing. Because first of all, I think whoever he was trying to protect was bigger than him anyway. But him
And who he was protecting from.
Exactly. So there's a term when we were younger, it's called fasbodi. And so it's that person, you always put the big people up on the front because they protect.
If there's a fight,
They take the hit and then, the others
I
come
love
through.
that.
And I feel like that's what he was trying. He's like, me and my little self, this little kid, tiny kid was just like, I'll be your fasbodi, and I'm just thinking, protect women, protect black women. That was so beautiful. And I don't know a better way of, because we can talk about it for so long. It's such a beautiful thing when it happens. It's such a beautiful thing when a guy, looks up for you, and speaks well for you on your behalf. That's such a beautiful thing. I'd love to see more of that.
Well, and that's something I see from both of you. You're both very generous with your affirmation of others. And I think that is such if nothing else, a credit to your parents, a credit to who you are as people, because to be that way, just to be generous and protecting others and affirming them and encouraging them, and that's really
But Lily, it's that thing when it's done for you. What balm, right? How beautiful, how nice it makes you feel to know that someone's looking out for you. I feel, if we ever got any fights when we were younger, I remember, and I tell this as a joke, but it's a thing, because I have a crown, and this kid bullied me. And so Terry, who's our older sister, but the tiniest one of us.
She's tiny. She's
Tiny. See what she means. And I remember Terry just like, pop, pop, pop. I mean, not condoning violence.
Yes,
at all.
of course, no.
But she just got in his face about what he had done to me and bullied me and da da da. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell. But I always, every time I look at her, I go, oh my gosh, this girl, man.
Yeah.
First body.
Careful, she's my first body. This tiny. I'm not. You would think that the big girl is the one who's the first body, but really she's the one who's looking out. You know, it's that thing. Yeah.
Oh, how about you, Annie? What are ways that you celebrate your sisters, celebrate your family, celebrate your siblings?
I think one of the things that this season has done for me personally is it's, as we're talking about, that we have more time. So we've been spending weekends at Sharon's house with my kids. Okay. And the most amazing thing has been to see how much my children love Tata Sharon, and that she gets into whatever it is that they're doing, and she makes it their, I mean, so we did this small thing. It's kind of started as a joke.
Yeah.
And then it became very serious to the children. We left out some food for the elves. And it was kind of like I was making muffins and I had just a little bit of batter. So I made little ones and I said, oh, we should leave those for the elves.
Yeah.
And the kids were like, yeah, we leave for the elves. Yeah. And so we got shot glasses and put milk in that. And
I see where this is going.
And we put it there. And I went to bed and completely forgot because I was exhausted. And in the morning, I found that Sharon had written a note from the elves. And she'd put special paper. She burnt the edges of the paper and wrote. And she, she gave them African names because elves are African. Elves.
Elves. Should they be elves?
Elves.
I mean, with the R's and
so good. So it's just become this thing now, and I thought to myself, I think I was even just too tired to get to carry on the story. I would have been like, oh yeah, whatever. And now it's become this thing that we slide in little lessons for the children through the elves' letters because apparently they really listen to that. So we say you really got to brush your teeth well because the tooth fairy or whatever it is, whatever thing that
she's been walking on these streets and she's saying there's too much butter on this teeth. Butter should be on the fridge.
Exactly. And they listen, and it was a thing that she came up with.
That's awesome.
It really does take a village to raise children because sometimes you're just too tired with your own brood. You're just like,
well, I mean, and I just love it because, here you are entertaining the masses of Nairobi, Shaz, and meanwhile, your probably biggest fans are these little ones
they
you created for them.
They absolutely adore her.
That's so good. That's incredible. No, I think of my own sister who, like my eldest is about to go off to college. And, here we are thinking about practical things like sheets and things like that. And meanwhile, she's like, pick out a really fantastic pair of leather boots and I'll buy you whatever you want from this really fancy store, And I was like, I'm trying to get her to study. You're trying to get her to go out, already. She's not even college. But where would we be without aunties?
Yes,
I should do a whole nother episode.
Yes,
Black aunties,
black
they run
aunties.
the world.
They do. I was never going to put nail polish in Rain's fingers, but then Tata Sharon, she's like, Tata Sharon, you put for me? And she's like, yes, sure. And I just come.
They know where to go.
Yeah, they know where to go. She knows not to bother with mommy, right?
But also I have to say, these are definitely, I photograph, I do everything. These are receipts because when I have my own,
yes, right, that is right. Cash
I'm gonna remember
exactly
when your husband having this one, I was holding this
one.
Exactly.
So it's also
not
completely altruistic,
no. But you're so right. You're so right because there'll be time you're not tired, Annie.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. No. And then River can babysit your children.
She's outsourcing.
I am already.
That's why we have children. Outsourcing.
I'm like, he'll be young and sprightly. Go catch that one. Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up today, I just, you have filled my tank to overflowing. Honestly, I'm going to, after you leave, call all my sisters and my friends and my aunties and just show them the love that I feel like I've gotten today. But as we kind of close out and, and we'll leave this moment, we'll have laughed, whatever, but the reality is this pandemic is ongoing. You said at the beginning, Annie, we're going to be living in this reality for a while. We don't know when the end will be. How do we sustain this joy? How do we sustain connection? How do we sustain our families with kind of this, there's no end in sight. So how do we keep it going?
I think, and this is something that definitely is not an original thought, but the more that I practice it, the more that I see it to be true. Two things I'd say is, first, be in the present moment. So if we're here together, really enjoy this moment without thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow, and because we rob the joy of this moment by thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of times. But the second thing is, and this is a practice that I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to anybody else, is be so fastidious about your thoughts. Really guard the things that you're allowed to enter your mind, because they enter your mind and they kind of pick momentum.
Yeah.
And you can find yourself getting caught up in a lot of anxiety, and it's about things that are not in your control and may never happen, and but it can take over.
Absolutely.
So those are the two things that I'd say.
Yeah.
Enjoy what's happening right now. If you're having a cup of tea with your sister, really enjoy that cup of tea. Really get into it. If you want another slice of toast, really just enjoy that next slice of toast, because you have this moment. Enjoy that moment. But we without guilting yourself, or without checking out from the experience because you're thinking about tomorrow. Right?
Yeah. It reminds me of what you said earlier. We prayed for this moment. We prayed to just be alive. So
we prayed for this
moment.
moment.
Is what you asked for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and we don't know it, but all of us prayed for this moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know it. Sometimes you live through something that brings it to you. But I think we have all had, the unfortunate experience of also seeing people go young.
Absolutely.
And here you are.
And here we are.
Dad talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
He says how for him his biggest dream growing up was that he wanted to be an adult.
Yeah. That was his thing.
Imagine that was
Because so many of his peers
he had
died
seen,
young.
Yeah.
but then also to dare, even in these moments, and I don't know I don't know what it sounds, but I'm going to say it, is to dare to dream or to imagine and to believe for all those amazing things. We, even in spite of all these things, we have that thing. Again, Dad, we quote our parents a lot, but he talks about how when he was younger, so he dreamt about being an adult, but he just dreamt of, one day I'll have a car, maybe I'll have cars, and I'll have a wife, I'll have kids, and then and he remember the thing about the plane. He always thought his dream job would be like the person that loads boxes onto like planes.
A cargo handler was his biggest dream.
And when we look at his life now, and that's why one of the lunches has been such a good thing for us. When we look at him, I go, oh my gosh. But he's done that thing, and then he's gone. It's not cars, it's not homes, it's not children. It's he had his own planes and all of that.
Not just loading them, he had them. He was a pilot, and he had his own.
Like real poor, like not
like
holes in everything. Not sure where the next meal is coming from. So.
That even in hard times you can be dreaming, and that those dreams will still find an answer in the God who hears us anyway, who is not bamboozled by what is happening.
Absolutely. No, that's it's not cliche at all, because I was just talking to a journalist this morning, and he was just saying, he dreamt as a kid, and now he's seeing other kids dream bigger because he's shared his, and it does. There's a currency to it that's really powerful, That's really awesome. That's really awesome. I forgot to ask you, so I know I said that was last, but Sharon, you're a comedian. Annie, you're a therapist and an educator. You're also an educator. I was teasing you at the beginning, saying, do you really teach math? And you're like, I'm teaching it right.
Yes, we're talking fractions.
Real quick, as we kind of leave this thing, where does family show up in your work? Where does sisterhood show up in your work? What have you learned, or what do you use in your profession that really is born out of being a sister?
Oh, as a last born, I honestly feel like whatever I learned in school, I'm like, it's okay, I already know this. I have every personality type in my family already. I can draw for all of y'all are so complicated, This is why I'm a therapist, because I figured you all out early, I'm like, yes, this sounds like something that happened with so-and-so, I'm like, I don't need the books, no. But really, when you grow up in a big family, you have a lot of references for the way that people deal with situations. And so I do feel that that does come into my work a lot. I can draw back.
What a strength. I think I would go to a therapist actually who had siblings as opposed to maybe one who didn't. I don't know if that's fair, but as a mother of a lot and one of to be
Yes,
myself. I think I would want somebody who can appreciate how
the
that shapes you
complexity
and the
and
complexity.
yes, exactly, and those
Absolutely.
interactions and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
because
all
it,
versions of us as well, because we've also changed.
yes, exactly, yeah.
How about you, Shaz? Are there any? I'm sure you pull from your family and your
All
comedy.
the time, Lily. I'm just waiting for them to give me the okay. Just sigh. It happens even now that I should put that in my comedy and go.
Yeah, she always asks me, Annie, are you over this?
Yeah.
Is it too soon to make this into a skit?
Really, because I'm like, this is so funny.
Yes.
This is life. We don't even have to be mean or take things like this. Life
Just
is
tell exactly what happened.
just
and
tell
it's
you the
just
thing that
hilarious.
happened. So I'm always going, have you healed from the thing yet? Do you think should I ask her? Should I ask her? You think it'll be okay?
Is there anything off limits where your family said, whatever, fine, but you can't talk about X? Any rules?
So I feel like they will let me in time.
Okay.
So there are some things that maybe they're going through right now. Well, I have to say, because they are not just themselves, right? There's children, there's partners, there's all of that. There's some dynamics that I can't play with. But some of them I can if I change the names and the details well enough. You know, I think I just have to be smart about it.
Shaz, I don't know if after this interview you can change names and people will not be like, that sounds like the Andrew. Don't they have a brother Andrew?
But I also think amazing things happen to me all the time. And I feel like that's my favorite thing is that I'm like, guys, I don't even have to make it up.
Right.
Like being a math teacher is pretty amazing because
Yeah.
you were such a strong math teacher, math student, right?
There you go.
You know what she's saying?
Oh,
Is that I
she's
was-
making fun of you. I actually missed it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
She's not being encouraging at all. But I actually think it's the thing that makes me a better math teacher because I think I know what it's like to be like, what are all these numbers? What's going on? You know?
Yeah.
And now I can see when I look at the texts that are given to kids, I go, of course this will not make sense to you. Of course it wouldn't.
Yeah.
And also if you didn't understand that thing, I understand why this isn't going to make sense to you now.
Exactly.
You know, so I feel
And she always says, I'm doing this for the kid at the back.
yes.
Not the bright one, who can figure out. I'm doing this for the kid who has no hope.
I love it.
And
He's
yeah,
just failing. His
Yeah.
parents are upset with him and then
Yeah.
I'm like,
But what a beautiful philosophy. What if we all did everything we did in service to that person?
Yeah.
at the back? Whatever we do. You know, we're cooking, we're teaching, whatever.
yeah.
If we do it for that kid in the back,
I
I think
think
that's a beautiful, beautiful mantra.
Is it?
Yeah, I do. I've been taking notes as you've been talking. The first body, we pray for this moment, the kid at the
also
back.
fat body. I do
Yeah.
a lot of fat comedy with good reason.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
Why?
I need to see enough
Hold
fat.
the space for all of us.
about
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
Laugh
yes,
at you and laughing at yourself,
Yes,
and we're
yes.
going,
yeah.
you having a problem with a little gain weight? Is that what it is? Let me tell you about that.
I have some people I want you to talk
Yeah.
to. Yes. Actually, Shaz, if you could counsel them after this, because they're not understanding me. So before we go, where can we find your work? Where can we find you? Shaz, you're a bit more public than Annie, so maybe I'll start with Annie. Annie, are there places
You
you
know what?
engage
I just
with people?
only just got on Instagram.
Oh my.
And that was because of Corona. And it took me 12 weeks.
And me.
It took me 12 weeks of Sharon.
Please give credit where it's due.
Let's end this podcast.
Be given all the credit.
No, I was going to say
was
12
here
weeks of
before
you
Corona.
and Corona.
Yeah. Okay.
So
what's your
I tried-
handle?
Wellness Now with Annie.
Wellness Now with Annie.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So people can reach out to you about
Pretty much
homeschooling or educating
anything.
or-
Well, not homeschooling. I'll do it in a private capacity, as
Okay.
like one parent to another. This is what works for me.
Right.
This is what I would suggest to you.
Okay.
These are some resources. Don't sweat
Okay.
this stuff. But
Yeah.
it's very casual
Okay.
but professionally, so therapy stuff
Okay.
is Wellness
Awesome.
Now with Annie. Yes.
Wellness Now with Annie. Yeah, Wellness Now with Annie. Fantastic. That's easy to remember. I
Yeah.
like it. A little long.
Yeah.
But I'll remember.
Yeah, it is long.
Annie, N-A-N-N-I-E.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. A-double-N-I-E.
Okay. And
Yes.
Shaz, what about you? How can we find
I
you?
live on Instagram. I have other things.
Yes, she does.
But I feel like Instagram's where I have the best fun.
Okay.
Short attention span works
yeah.
really well. 3 seconds anyway. So my handle is Queendom. So imagine a kingdom. Queendom.
Love it.
Dot
How is
blog.
that? I love that you were the first on that. That's fantastic. It says a lot
Yes,
about you.
yes.
No one has
Yes.
thought about it.
Yes.
I remember
Yes,
going,
yeah.
I'm gonna call my page this. I'm not gonna call it Shaz. I'm gonna call it Queen.
Yes.
I'm a queen. And this is
Yeah, I remember that.
I wanted,
Yes.
all that
Yes,
stuff.
you're
Yeah.
Queendom. Absolutely. So at Queendom.
Yeah, queendom.blog.
Blog.
Yeah.
Same thing on Twitter?
Well,
Sharon.
I know Sharon Derito at
Okay,
Twitter.
all right.
Just come to Instagram, really.
And find
Yeah,
you there.
that's
Oh,
where
yeah,
she lives.
perfect.
Yeah, that's where I
Because you're
live.
still performing, you've been
Yes.
hosting online events, so
Yes.
we can find you there, engage with you.
Yes. Come on my
enjoy your
page, watch
presence.
the
Come on your
comedy.
page. I'm going to be there tonight. Thank you, Shaz. Thank you, Annie. Thank you for just, sharing your lives. This is quite
Thanks
a
for
gift.
having us over, Lily. This
hear
was quite
this.
fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me
Crash.
crash.
Shared it.
Yeah.
Me.
Thank you, Lily, for letting me.
I tell you. On the way home, I'm sure she'll correct all of these moments. But thank you. You both are a gift and a blessing. Thank you for being on Uproot today.
Thank you.
How fun.
Thank
That
you.
was fun.
It was
Yeah,
really
that
fun.
was
It was
fun.
really fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. Thank you for staying with our series. I really can't wait to share the next couple of topics. We're going to be talking about why Black journalism matters, why Black parenting matters, why Black feminism matters. Lots coming up, so don't miss a single episode. And I also want to shout out at Provisions for the wonderful little plants that I have here today, including the artwork that adorns it. They've got some beautiful things at their shop. Nancy does amazing work keeping us organic and local, and so please go check them out at Provisions on Instagram. So as Wangari Maathai taught us, keep at it until it becomes rooted. Let me know how you're doing at Uproot and Lil on Instagram and on Twitter. Talk to you soon.